Hi, I'm Shari, and this is Coaching Through Cards. I am an intuitive life coach and I work with tarot cards, but what happens is I don't do a full spread like many tarot card readers do. For me, what happens is I will just throw a couple cards, which automatically it's like a conduit that connects me to your guides. And sometimes my guides join in and some other people who have passed on, and they'll start to give me information about you. And in that information, I will find out if you are where you're at in your life, what help you might need, where your challenges or obstacles are, and how I may be able, through Great Spirit, through God, whatever you believe in, to help you move through those in the easiest and least painful way. And so, a little bit about me. My background, I have had a gift since I was a little kid, but I didn't really pay attention to it or even know what it was until I was probably in my late teens and early 20s. I used to get feelings about things. I mean, as a kid, I can tell you stories about things that happened, feelings I got. I believe this was passed down generation to generation. My grandmother had a gift, my mom had a gift. And so what happened is in my 20s, I had gone through a lot. I had gone through some major surgeries, and I had had one. The very first surgery was an emergency surgery, in which I was told afterwards that I had almost died. But during the surgery, I remember sort of floating, sitting above my body, looking down, and everything looked like a sea of green. And I could tell that it was surgeons, and they were working, and they had those little green caps on, and they had masks on their faces, and I could see the backs of their heads. And it was a very tense situation for them. They didn't have music playing. I have a friend who's a nurse who says sometimes they play music in the OR to keep everybody calm, or different things. But in this case, it was an emergency surgery, and there was no music. It was just very tense. I could just hear, people asking for certain instruments or things, and I didn't really know what was going on. I was watching, but I didn't have a connection to it. I was completely disconnected from the body that was on the table. So I didn't feel any pain. In fact, it felt very peaceful. And I was sitting with someone. I don't know who. It felt like a guide or somebody sitting next to me. And they were giving me information. But the truth is that they didn't speak. I don't remember hearing a voice. I just remember feeling things. And I knew that I had a choice. I knew that I could stay or I could go. And that this body, if I wanted to leave, this would be a time I could make that choice. But I also could tell that my mom, who I was supposed to go to lunch with, because this was supposed to be a 40-minute procedure in which I was supposed to walk out the door afterwards. I was 19 years old. I was supposed to walk out the door with my mom, and we were going to lunch. And my mom was my best friend. And so knowing that she was sitting there waiting for me and knowing how devastated she would be if I weren't here, I decided to stay, not feeling like my life wasn't important, because I didn't think about that one way or the other. But what I chose was to come back. And as soon as I made the choice, as soon as I felt the choice, I was back in my body. And the next thing I remember was waking up in a room where I saw a clock, and the clock said 10 to 8. And I thought it must be wrong. It must be a mistake, because I had gone into surgery at 11 in the morning. And I thought, well, the clock can't be right because it's 8 hours later. And there's no way that it was 10 to 8, 7:50. And I was like, okay, so that's over 8 hours ago. And there's no way that I could have been in a 45-minute surgery for that long. And then the pain hit. And during the time that I was in that altered state, I also knew that if I chose to come back, it wasn't going to be an easy choice. It wasn't going to be, this easy skate life where things were just going to come in and I was going to be happy and everything was going to be, Snow White and the little birds singing. It wasn't like that at all, and I knew it. And I chose to come back, and it was true. It was not a skate life, and I certainly wasn't Snow White. Um, and what happened after that was a series, it was a 12-year cycle. I had gone through that surgery and then some other surgeries that were caused by that emergency surgery. And then um, I had my mom, my best friend, my fiance, my grandmother, and my aunt all pass away in that 12-year cycle. And I also was diagnosed with cancer in that 12-year cycle towards the end of it. And the finish of it was I had surgery and I had a clean bill of health. And that was a 12-year period that was filled with learning experiences, filled with fear and pain and loss. And in that time, I grew more and more open to my gift, which I had always had but hadn't really recognized. And I started to connect with something outside of myself. And I would get messages, I would get information, and I didn't always follow it, but I knew that it was there. And I started to just call it my gut intuition, which I also believe is my guidance system. It's my guides, it's my mom, it's people on the other side who, have a care for where I'm at. And so in that time, I learned and grew that gift even more because once I recognized it, I was able to tap into it and open it up even more through reading and through connecting through classes with teachers and guides who are still here on this earthly plane. And I grew it. And as that happened, I became more and more open to what was happening. And about a year and a half ago, a friend of mine said, you should really be doing this for a living. And it resonated with me. And I thought, you know what? I've always been I've always wanted to help people. I've always been, some of my friends would say bossy, but I've always been somebody who really, gets something in my gut and I just have to share it and I want people to live their best lives. And that's what I want for you. And so I've been through a lot, but there are people out there who've been through much more than I have. And there are people who are just at the beginning of their journey. If you're in a place where you already feel centered and at peace with what's happening in your life and you're able to handle whatever that is, then good. That's great. You're ready for the next step. But if you're somebody who's stuck in the pain or the fear of what's going on, the unknown, and you need some help or some guidance, that's what I'm here for. And if there's anything that I can do to make your life easier, your obstacles seem a little bit less intense or less scary, then that's what I'm being called to do. And so you can contact me through the information that's at the bottom of this page. It's www.coachingthroughcards.com. Once again, I'm Shari, and you can also connect to my website. You can set up an appointment with me, and I would love to hear from you. And if any of this is resonating with you, it's probably time, and your guides are probably urging you to take the next step, which I hope that you do, whether it's with me or somebody else, because the goal is to live your best life, and that's what I want to help make happen for you. So in closing, once again, you can go under the page and you can like me, subscribe, please. This is brand new for me, so I'm very excited about this. And I look forward to hearing from you, and I look forward to meeting you. Take care. Thank you. Namaste.